Everyone. Waiting to hear the recording now.
Recording in progress.
There's my mechanical lady. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday, February 20th, 2025 meeting of the Palo Alto Architectural Review Board. Can we please get a roll call?
Chair Rosenberg,
Present.
Vice Chair Chen, present. Board Member Balte,
Present.
Board Member Hirsch.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, we open the floor for public comment. Members of the public may speak to any item not on the agenda. You have 3 minutes per speaker. Do we have any public speaker cards or raised hands?
I have no request to speak.
Okay, perfect. Agenda changes, deletions, and additions.
No changes or deletions.
Thank you. And city official reports.
All right, good morning. We'll share my screen momentarily. All right, so here we are. We have some upcoming and tentative projects for our next meeting. That would be 180 El Camino. So that is De La Rosa for some exterior upgrades, as well as a report out from the ad hoc for the objective standards on townhomes. And we do have that item scheduled later on today. So we will hear a little bit about that. There were no recently submitted items since the last hearing, and staff does not have any items of note for the board. And with that, I can entertain any further questions at this time.
Quick question.
Correct.
It was last week also no recently submitted items as well? Our last meeting?
Since the last meeting,
Yeah, the last hearing, there was no recently submitted items either?
correct.
Okay. We've seen a slowdown in submitted items, or is this just sort of part of how it ebbs and flows naturally with the city? Just curious.
I think it's just a natural ebb and flow.
Okay.
Sometimes we get more minor architectural review applications and sometimes we get major ones. Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, just curious. Thanks very much. All right, with that, we'll move forward with action item number 2. Allow me to flip to the page so I can read the headline, or excuse me. Do you want to go over anything on the agenda items for upcoming absences, anything like that? Did any of my fellow board members have any questions about any of the upcoming projects? Sorry, I feel like I rushed through that a little quickly. I'm backtracking a little because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything for you guys.
If I may, we do have a scheduled planned absence for June 19th. So if any board members have planned absences, please direct that to my attention or Veronica's.
Thank you.
Yeah, I sort of speaking on that. I don't know exactly, but I hope I can go to New York to see a building finished up that I,
On the 19th?
no, in April.
In April.
Just-
Fabulous.
So I'll let you know.
Fabulous.
Yeah, I also have travel planned during the summer, but haven't booked the ticket yet, so I will let you know.
All right. Any other comments for my fellow board members on this, or should we jump into action item number 2? Nothing else? All right, now we can move over to action item number 2. Thanks for humoring me on that. Ad hoc committee report, review ad hoc committee report on objective standards for townhomes and provide direction to staff. The recommendation staff recommends continuing the ad hoc committee report on objective standards for townhomes to a date certain March 6, 2025, which is our next meeting.
And I can speak a little to that.
Okay.
So we had a ad hoc, I guess a little background here. So these objective design standards for housing development were adopted back in 2022. And it was understood with these modifications that the standards would likely need some further review. And accordingly, an ad hoc committee was formed. And that was comprised of board member Hirsch, as well as Vice Chair Chen. And they were tasked with reviewing these standards. So this has come before the Architectural Review Board at multiple hearings, being November 17th, 2022, December 1st, 2022, December 15th, 2022, as well as April 20th of 2023. So additional time is needed to kind of wrap this up and be fully presented back to the board. So
Okay, so at this time, do we need to actually make a motion to move it to a date certain?
yes, we would need a motion for that.
And there's no other discussion needed? I want to look at boards member Hirsch and Jen. Nothing? Okay,
Report in on it. Yingxi has given me her, what I would say, kind of an outline that basically follows the meeting minutes that were presented that Claire gave us. So I'm working on it sort of to fill it out at this point, and I asked that if asked Claire if we could defer it this one more meeting. So I have to get whatever I do and whatever Yingxi revises on that needs to be presented to planning in order to get it into the next packet.
sounds good. Okay, well, I guess with that, I move that we continue this item to a date certain of March 6, 2025. Do I have a second?
If I may, I would
Please.
recommend taking public comment.
Even though we're not going to hear it.
Well, it is agendized, so.
I mean, because there's nothing that we've presented. So at this point, I would say,
We're not going to get any.
Okay.
are there any public comments? There's no one in chambers.
No, I have none.
All right, there's no raised hands on Zoom. Perfect. Okay, now thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that. With that, I'll make a motion to move this item to a date certain of March 6, 2025. Do I have a second?
Second,
Perfect. And can we get a vote, please?
Board Member Bolte,
Yes.
Board Member Hirsch,
Yes.
Vice Chair Chen,
yes.
Chair Rosenberg,
Yes.
motion carries 4-0.
Look at us being on time today. All right, we'll move on to discussion for criteria of an architectural review board design awards recognizing built projects 2020 to 2024. Staff recommends that the architectural review board, 1, review the attached list of 28 projects reviewed by the ARB since 2020. 2, discuss the ARB design awards, including evaluation criteria, timeline, awards, and categories. 3, decide on award winners. And with that, I will hand it over to Stephen. Let's take it
All
away.
right, so this is our third discussion on this item. So with our previous meetings, we had dwindled down that list from 79 projects now to 28. And we can hopefully with this meeting decide on some award-winning projects as well as further discussion at this hearing, as well as some offline discussions for timeline, the number of awards and the evaluation process, and as well as securing an event space and those items that would follow. So as noted, December 19th, there was a majority in support of the board for awarding 5 awards. It was narrowed down from 79 to 64 projects, and each board member received around 12 to 13 to review. January 16th, that was further narrowed down from 64 to 28 projects. And at that hearing, we created the attachment that is in the staff report of the projects. So those award categories at that meeting were not determined. It was discussed that through the selection of the projects that the award categories would come organically. So since that last meeting, each board member has sent in photos of their shortlisted projects, and I have those on the following slides. So if we would like, we can just jump into those slides.
Sounds good to me, and I'd like to send a special thank you to Stephen here, who took my photos at probably 2 o'clock in the morning and put them into the presentation there, because I sent those late last night and he has them ready this morning. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
We operate in working hours here, so.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, so just some next steps here. The intent is to, of course, narrow down this project list. Each board member should select some of the projects that they feel deserve an award from their assigned list, as with the submitted photos. And there is, an intent to select 5, but of course, if, the award-winning projects reveal themselves to have, say, some honorable mentions or numbers beyond that 5, that also would be acceptable.
Great. And then I did have one quick question just in term, before we dive into this.
Yes.
So when I sent you the information on mine, there were several of my projects that really just haven't even been started. So I had sent a list in the last slide of mine that said we should roll those to the next one. Is that how that would actually work? Or is it, could you explain that to me a little bit?
Yes. So we operate, say, this award cycle every 5 years, and any projects that are either uncompleted or, say, under construction would be rolled over to the next eligible list, if you will. So some of the projects, I believe there were about 12 or so that were carried over from the last award cycle that we reviewed, that were either complete or some were still ongoing development. So yes, those would be carried over.
Beautiful.
And not be
So
missed.
then in the interest of our own self-preservation here, I would say, let's make sure that every member of the ERB has from their list, if there is anything that wasn't started yet, that they make sure to note that to you so that next round, we've got the list of items that were rolled very clear and very easy without having to dig through all the numbers again. So in case anyone hasn't done that, I think that would be a good idea for our own sanity 5 years from now.
Perfect.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for that. So let's see here. Out of the photos, we can start with Board Member Balte projects that were submitted. So these were submitted at that January 16th meeting, and it is 555 Middlefield Road. I believe this project had some facade upgrades and in particular the window surrounds with some aluminum or metal. Another project would be 588 Webster Street. This is a residential project. And lastly, of the 3 that were submitted, 620 Emerson Street. And this is the Nobu restaurant. Moving along, we have Vice Chair Chin's project, singular. We had 1 submitted, so this is 3215 Porter Drive.
Only 1 photo?
Yes, just 1 photo.
Okay.
Then we have board member ad hocs projects. So there are some photos, plural, that were submitted for this project. So this is the Mercedes-Benz dealership. This is located at 1700 Embarcadero Road. And in the correspondence I received from board member ad hoc on this item in particular was the attention to the connections between the varying materials and the execution.
Good collection.
Looks like the plants might need a little time to grow. All right, and then another one of board member ad hoc projects is the pedestrian and bicycle overpass at Highway 101. Moving along to board member Hirsch's projects. So this is our house. Then we have Brilliant Earth facade.
Pause you for one quick second.
Pardon?
Can I pause you for one quick second?
Yes.
Also, for future reference on these ones, because they all end up being 180 El Camino, 180 El Camino. I think that, again, in the future ones, it will be helpful that, so like, when we're looking at this yellow list in the packet, on packet page 16, when you see L'Occitane as the first word, super helpful. And then the next one, I don't know which building that is, so I have to like look for it, right? So I think if just moving forward, anytime we've got something at Stanford Shopping Center, if we know the tenant, super helpful, because then it just, as we're going through it later, it's really clean and easy to see. So just as a 2 cents thing, thank you.
There are some suite numbers, but now as I'm looking at this, it appears that 2 of the first projects did not include the suite number. So noted. Thank you.
Just a commercial tenant name, is the important one for identification for us, seems to me.
Yeah, I'm not, it's funny, walking around, I'm not even sure there is a suite number anywhere visible, like on
Yeah.
Brilliant Earth. It doesn't say suite number B, so we have to, find a actual map.
So which one of these applications is the R House
It's the
building?
last one.
23 PLN 9?
Yeah.
It's R House. Yes, there it is. I see it. Thank you.
Apologies, please continue. Thank you so much. And then this one, again, if you do have the PLN, or if David, you can help us out here, which one we're looking at, that is helpful. Yeah, inside. All right, thank you. So Brilliant Earth, please continue.
All right. And then we have Restoration Hardware. Then we have Aloe Yoga Store. And this is 21 PLN 00326. Then we have Sushi Roku.
You have another shot there of that one.
Pardon?
You have another picture, don't we have another picture of Sushi Roku?
I do not. This was the only one I received.
Really? Yeah. Let me see, maybe I could send it to you.
And then there's the Wilkes Rashford short.
There's only one there too. I think I have another shot there. No?
This was the only one I received.
Oh. Where'd they go?
Then we have the facade upgrade at Peloton. With the lights around. And moving along to Chair Rosenberg's projects. So this is 4115 El Camino.
And I apologize for the crudeness of the photos. This one is hard to sort of get to. And because it's still blocked off, the reason that I wanted to send the photos is because I don't know, and I wanted to get my fellow board members information on this. Would this qualify as substantial completion? In my mind, there wasn't enough going on around the base to be able to say it. So we had a conversation about it last time. So in my mind, I looked at this and said, it's not substantially complete enough. We can't see landscaping. We can't see anything around it. So this is a project that I felt should be rolled. But I really wanted to get my fellow board members' opinion on it, which is why I put the photos in there. I feel like you can see the building, but you can't see any of the landscape. So it was really at this sort of odd point where I'm like, well, it's close. I mean, you can see the building, but you can't see any of its surround. So if it's my call, I'd say we roll it, but I wanted to get everyone else's take
How
on it.
recent is this photo? Is the
It's
fence?
like 2 days ago. Yeah.
And when you look over the fence, is it all complete, the hardscapes? and
The
wood?
hardscape is not complete.
The building hasn't been finalized yet?
No, it has not.
I would say it's not complete.
Perfect. Okay.
Same here.
Perfect.
Yeah, same.
Great. So let's roll this one and add that to the rolled list for next time. Excellent. Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you. Moving along, we have 3877 El Camino.
Yeah, and this one, I just as a quick aside, I did take the two different photos, the ones from Google Earth, but the image looked a little highlighted and blurred out. So the one on the left again was taken 2 days ago. And you can see the coloration a little better. I felt that the other image, all easier to see the whole building, the coloring was a little off.
And then we have the last project, which would be the mortuary building at 695 Arastadero Road.
And Stephen, I did have one more, 3705, the 59 affordable units. Did we get the images for that in there too? Or was that one disqualified because of timing?
That may have slipped the slide deck, so my apologies on that.
It's an interesting project, but it wasn't my favorite architectural statement anyway, so. Okay, perfect. And that's it.
All right, so that is the last project on these short list, if you will, and I'm happy to flip through the slides if the board, should I say, has any questions or would like to view these properties in further detail.
In terms of moving forward from this point, we've seen quite a few projects at this moment. So I think almost the best thing to do, and please correct me if or interject if you think there's a different or better method. I think we should basically just go down the list and have sort of yay or nay to each project and sort of shorten this list. And if any board member has a strong opinion on one of them, then we can do that. But I think just going down the list and saying yes, no, yes, no, yes, no would be helpful at this point. And if anyone says yes, let's keep it for a minute.
I think that is a good course of action.
Perfect. All right, let's do it.
So let's bear with me. All right. So 555 Middlefield Road.
I think we should keep that on the list for now. Not so much for the strength of the design, although this photo captures it strikingly, but rather for the elegance of doing so little with the building and still making it so much better. I find if you were to compare this to what was there, this really made it much more cohesive, and it's a really good building along Middlefield Road for that. I think we should keep it in consideration for now.
All right. 588 Webster Street.
Should we raise hands if we think we should keep it for now, or should we
Sure,
have someone speak to
or-
it?
If the board members would like to speak to it, that's also acceptable.
Yeah, I think, did I miss something here? In terms of residential projects, it's, in my mind, one of the two that are possible. And the other one is the El Camino project that I don't know whose list it's on.
Are you talking about Wilton Court?
Wilton Court, thank you, yeah.
3705 El Camino Real.
How many of those do you remember like that?
So many.
It's too many. I agree with David that both this one and Wilton Court certainly should be on our short list.
So, okay. With that in mind, who took the photo? Because, there's the other angles of it would be useful to us, I think. In particular, because there's an inner courtyard, there's this lounge area up top on the side street, the close-up, some of the close-up detailing would be important for us too. So just with that in mind, we don't have, this is it. This is all we have to look at, right, for this project, is this one picture.
I took this snapshot, David, and absolutely, you're right. There's so many interesting aspects to this building. Inside and out, it's very thoughtfully designed all the way through. The material choices are generally excellent.
Generally.
So I strongly support this building.
Okay. So, but we need the Wilton Court too. That's ready for us here? Did we?
That's the red one that slipped the deck.
I think
Yes.
we're all familiar with that building, at least I am.
Yeah, I am too. Looked at it for years now.
Yeah, that definitely should be on the list.
Should be, yeah.
Okay, next project.
All right. 620 Emerson Street, the Nobu Restaurant.
I'm quite partial to this. I find it a very elegant way of both being a good neighbor. It's not just a closed off facade, but also really meeting the functional requirements of the restaurant. And obviously the materials and detailing are excellent.
I agree.
I agree. And you know, it's, again, this one picture doesn't do the job.
No.
There's really got to be, I mean, when they, if we award it and they make a presentation, we'll see a lot more. The textures inside, the planting is absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, yeah.
The concept of the sort of the percentage of seating to the decorative elements, if I could call it that, of the space are incredible.
Do you remember this was in our phase where we made a bench go outside every building back when we had Windforth with us? Look at the way they
This
did
is
the
the
bench.
bench.
This is the bench here. It's
This
really
is
nicely
A
done.
perfect bench for something that is like this, that creates a separation at the same time as it welcomes.
Agree.
All right.
Yeah, this is the one I took. I think this, although I was not on board when this was approved, but from what I've seen, I can see this is a very thoughtful planned project, from the site plan to the circulation design and also the
Oops.
material selections, the details. I think it's a very good potential for this award this year.
It's excellent, you know, and it's a commercial building, which is a nice one to have. It's a mix.
Is it commercial?
Every detail of this project is
It's
really well
research
thought.
and have some retails down below.
And some retail, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it
And
was sort of to serve the community of people who work in the other buildings.
Yeah, it's.
Isn't it like a bicycle repair shop?
Yeah, that's how I
Yeah,
ended up there in
right.
person.
It's
is
the-
the
it's the
bike repair
first time
shop.
Ever heard about a bicycle repair shop.
It was brilliant.
Sort of
Yeah.
opens to the outside and is
It
part
was-
of this whole.
Yeah, very clever.
very,
We
very good.
also went through a lot of review on this one.
Yeah, we
and
did.
Had a pretty big input.
Yeah. Especially kind of in the rear of the stair. I remember we had a
Yeah,
lot of issues on the stair that went down to the ground level from the upstairs there. in the
Yeah.
back.
You're right. But it's a good building.
And the landscaping relationship and the indoor-outdoor relationship is incredibly good.
All right. It's moving forward to the short list. Or short.
No, we're not
Oh,
shortening
are we
this very
there?
much, are we?
Yeah.
No, we're not
No.
shortening it very much, huh? I
So
don't
we're
think we've
currently at
discussed
5
anything yet.
projects, so
All right, I'm gonna jump in here. I'm very partial to this building.
Oh, me too.
The back and forth we did on this one with them, the way that they respected the Baylands, and most of them, hats off to her. She really captured it very well, and especially the
Yes.
details of it in her photos.
Yes,
I love the green wall, so I'm gonna definitely be leaning hard on this one. I think this is an absolutely stunning project.
I agree with your
Yeah,
every
agree.
comment there. And you know, what we had before it, which some of you may not have seen.
Oh, I remember.
Was a sort of a monster. Where the idea was clever as hell, you know, to have a kind of an elevator thing in the
Yeah.
building that lifted all the cars up inside and brought your Mercedes right to the ground level. All of that was great, but it was a monster in the Baylands, you know, whereas this one had ultimate Baylands respect, the way it was done. And of course, saved them a ton of money in doing it. It's unfortunate that there's so many cars on any lot, but that's the way it is. And they did the best you could.
Completely agree.
Can we give them a perseverance award?
Well, it wasn't the same. I don't think it was actually, in the end, it was a whole other company that did this particular building versus the one we looked at before.
all right. I believe this is our only bridge project that we have.
Yeah, well, I want to comment on this one too, is because there was a bridge competition. I think it was for this bridge. There were some really, really beautiful bridges that, do you remember?
Yeah, but this is just not one of them.
You know,
David.
this, no, it's not one of them.
And so many other towns have built really striking bridges across the highway. And
Yeah.
I have to say, this is a pretty good example of where we really dropped the ball
Yeah.
as a city.
Yes, it's, what happened is it came back, unfortunately, sort of came back and engineering did an engineering design. And that's pretty much what it ended up. It didn't end up real architecture, except the clever picture of the little area, seating area, that really is kind of unique in
More
itself.
public art than architecture, though.
The curved approach ramp is pretty nice.
Yeah, and the concept of having a bridge there, of course, is terrific, you know, really critical to the city, I think.
I would like to say, looking at this photo, like this moment is really something special. But it's not architecture, right? It's when you look at the bridge and you zoom out and you look at the whole bridge as an entire entity, that is where I think that it falls short. But I do want to, hats off to whoever the artist is who did this moment, because this moment absolutely saves this bridge. This is a stunning
Go
moment.
back, Stephen, go
But
back
the
one
rest
image.
of the bridge
Stephen.
is just,
If you can
it's
imagine,
engineered,
no,
yeah.
the other one. Go
The ramp
right here.
down.
See the curved approach ramp? Imagine if that just launched across the highway
Right.
with the same detailing.
right,
That would be striking.
yep, agreed.
But this bridge had to be able to be dropped into place.
Mhm,
Mhm.
And so you can only do so much, I guess.
yeah.
It's too bad. It's too bad it couldn't be the whole thing, or some of the original designs could have, would have made it up. But it loses for that. But you know, maybe I think if we could consider an alternative, and that this one might be the kind of the alternative, that just that little piece of it, you know, the art piece
Mhm.
that,
That'd be Public Works or not Public Works, the art, like the,
art awards.
the art committee should
committee.
definitely keep an eye on this one.
Yeah.
And for the record, this portion is public art, so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So the public art,
Public art, yeah.
they should
So-
definitely keep an eye on this. This is
Well,
beautiful.
they give a chance to do that. I mean, we should see that because I don't think there's anything wrong in us saying that public art did something that merits.
I'm not sure I would
I think we
be
only have
that-
5
that-
spots.
that keen on this public art either, to be honest with you, as I think about it and look at it. But it's not really here today.
Yeah,
Everybody agrees with Peter?
unfortunately, yeah. Not unfortunately, but yeah.
I'm all by myself again.
Sorry.
Okay, let's move on.
All right. So our house. And just for context, we are currently at 5 projects on the short list, so.
Well, no, they're not on a short list. They're
Yeah.
still being considered.
Correct, correct. Thanks for that clarification.
Mhm.
So I still very much like this project. My hard part is that the competition is tough. So as much as I enjoy this project, you know, it's,
I think it's not unreasonable that, you know, we see such nice projects in this shopping center. And there really are likely 2, and I know which one the next one is that you're going to favor, which I favor as well. You know, I agree with you on that one. But this project is really also terrific. It really is nicely done.
I'm sorry, Board Member Hirsch, I beg to differ. There's just an overly exotic use of different materials with very little thought put into how they relate to each other. And there's too much going on in this building to
Yeah, I
give it an
agree.
award, if you ask me.
Well, I like it. I think that if I can be the opposite opinion here, I think the mixture of materials is very, very exciting. The consistency of materials is also very exciting. And that actually the change from what was there before is incredible.
yes.
You know, and the emphasis on entries and corners, which we had something to do with, I think has been really, really well done. I think it's just very well put together, and the materials are unusually interesting in their variation.
admit I'm also quite fond of it. I do appreciate sort of the bump ups and the verticality and the elements that way. I do agree that maybe there's a little bit too much material change. In my mind, the biggest thing here is that the competition is too stiff. And for me, while I really like this building, we can't have 5 winners all at Stanford Shopping Center. And I definitely have ones that I would prefer above this at Stanford Shopping Center. So to me, unfortunately, this one just gets knocked down simply because of the fact that the competition is too stiff.
Well, I don't know why we're talking about the competition. We're talking about it building by building and whether there's 2 buildings that are commercial buildings doesn't much matter.
That's fair. I think my comment is more along the lines of this one doesn't make my top 5. This one to me runs middle of the pack. So is it one of the ones that I would say is an absolute standout? My answer is no. Do I like it? Yes, very much. But it's not one of the shining stars to me in that regard, just because there are other ones that I think are better. So Peter's shaking his head over here.
Peter agrees with you, but I'm very favorable towards this building. I know. I mean, I think they did such an incredible transformation in the first place, but if you think about the white building that was there and the monotonous quality of it, you know, this has a lot of good textures. I mean, I have another picture of it that I thought I had sent you, Stephen, but it doesn't seem to be here. And more importantly, I have a second picture of the sushi roku, which is going to require more discussion here. So I'm trying to get that. I don't think I sent it to you yet, so let me see if I can find it. But I vote strongly for this one because I think that I think it's an excellent. You know, they lived with this with what was there as the frame of the building.
Mhm.
You know, whereas the sushi roku completely changed something that was the frame of the building.
So I think with David's passion, we should keep it in for now and we just see how
Yeah.
the whole board votes on it.
I
And
mean,
that's sort of that.
you know, to be honest, to compare it, let's say with the building we looked at that we're keeping in, that is the Middlefield building, you know, this is head and shoulders above it creatively.
All right. Well, in an effort to keep this discussion moving along, I'll advance the slide.
Well, I took this, the only thing about this is its simplicity and the way it minimized just about everything, but did so elegantly.
Yeah, the minimalist in me is like in love with this building, but I also understand I might be on a limb here. So I
Yeah.
personally am very fond of this building, but it is a very, very simple structure. So I understand if there's other things
I
that are
think,
better.
I mean,
So
this is right across the alley from the building we were just looking at.
Our
And
house, yeah.
To me, this is
Yeah.
head and shoulders better architecture. If you kind of
Isn't
put a
it?
capital A on it. This just follows all the principles you're taught in school. Proportion,
Mhm.
consistency, use of materials, expression of the
Detail.
purpose of the building.
Yeah.
And you can see this is a jewelry store.
Yep.
A high-end one. Right?
Yep.
The other one, what are they selling at our house? Can you tell by looking
Yeah.
at the facade?
Well, it's house, who's,
Our house.
Not by the name,
Yeah.
does the architecture tell you something about the building? This one does. To me, at least, that's a positive thing for a building.
Oh gosh, we have to start cutting some of these guys.
I wouldn't put either of these on the list.
Yeah, I'm okay skipping this one, although I just need the people who designed it to know wherever you are, I love the facade of this
Yeah, I
building.
think the facade design for this one is a nice one. Its scale is right, but I just felt we have some other better choices, so.
more significant buildings, for example. you know,
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can remove this one.
All right.
Darn.
And restoration hardware.
I loved this building when we were reviewing it, approving it, when I was in it the other day, but now, looking at the photos and the way they detailed it, I think it did not come out as well as I had hoped. It's sort of overly grandiose and those oversized light fixtures. I remember thinking we're going to be great. Now they just look sort of weird.
Yeah, that's true. Same thing, same feeling.
So I don't know what to say. I had really high hopes that this would be the shining, building for the decades in the shopping center. It's very popular.
Yeah, I've had two of my clients come and call me and ask if I have been to this yet. They're like, it's an experience. You have to see it. It's amazing. So for what it's worth, I don't think I've ever had any client ever comment on a building like this. So for what it's worth, I do think that the public opinion of this building is very favorable.
For me, it's too sort of traditional in many respects to turn me on. The kind of axial stuff that goes on, that it's just, to be honest, it's a comparison of the two similar stores are the Aarhus and this one. And for me, the Aarhus is 100% better, showing you variation.
Yeah.
This is just a sort of a simple classical building.
Yeah.
As a building. The interesting thing is the idea of the restaurant up top. That's a really wonderful place. You get to see the nicer trees in the area and the whole surrounding. If you've been, I hope you've been up there, because it's really quite attractive. That idea of going to a store and having a restaurant like that in it. It's a draw, but it's also just an amenity that is really nicely done.
I would argue that also with this building, the landscaping and the surrounding has been really nicely done. The trees up high are beautiful. Planting on the second level, everything like that. Now, all that being said, like, I do prefer this over our house. I'm still not going to fight for this one. So that's where I land. It's just me personally. I really like this one. I like it better than the other one,
Yeah.
but I'm still not going to fight for it. So.
Well, yeah, I just feel we could leave it for now to, yeah, and also I think now the lighting fixture selection, the look, the style, the looking of it, but just the lighting design itself at night, I think it did really a good job. It's like the rooftop, all the glasses are like the jewel in the shopping center, and that is just lit up, and also when you're walking towards the building, the grand feeling that you can feel, I think the experience is really nice.
Yeah.
But I agree, just look at the pictures, the two huge lighting fixtures seems like a little bit off scale, but I think.
I mean, architecture is experiential, right?
Yeah.
So if you guys are going to argue that this is an experiential building that really is something special and maybe it doesn't photograph well, I mean, I will absolutely say Sagrada Familia is, and that's like, Sagrada Familia does not photograph well, and you go there and it's an experience. And then I have one other in mind that I won't mention that is the opposite, where it looks great in photos and you get there and you're like, that's it. So if you guys are arguing that the experience of this building is worth hanging on to, then state that clearly and we'll keep it and we'll move on and then we'll get down to the vote of it.
You said the Sagrada Familia doesn't photograph well?
I have to say, I know, it's a terrible thing to say. It always looks moldy. It always looks like it always looks unfinished because it is unfinished, but
Guy.
I love Gaudi. Love his art.
Let's leave this on the list for now. Okay?
Yeah. For now.
Noted.
You want to move on?
Before we go diverge into a tangent on Barcelona architecture. Okay, next one.
My laptop battery is giving out on me, so bear with me.
Oh dear, because I just sent you another photograph. of Sushi Road. In fact, I sent you two photos.
All right. So we have the facade upgrade at the yoga store, the Aloe.
Again, the minimalist in me is rejoicing. I love how they did that front glass curvature, all of that. I'm still not going to fight for it. I like the white oak interiors, all of it. I mean, it's a beautiful job. This is the hard thing of what this process is. There's so much beautiful architecture here. Things have been really well done,
Yeah,
but this is an award thing. So got to be the creme de la creme.
it's
So,
really nice, but it's really small.
hats off. Beautiful job. I'm not going to fight for it.
Right. And anyhow, if you look at it, as you look at it here, it sort of has to do with all that building above it as well, which isn't part of it at all.
That's actually a really good point. So for me, I actually almost ignore the top half and I'm very fond of it. And you're right. When I do look at it with the top half, I'm like, oh, but it's just because they didn't change the top half. So for me, I'm going to let this one fall off the list.
Yes, or me too.
Oh, am I the only one that want to keep this?
Well, you have to be alone some of the time.
Yeah, right. Well, at least I think compared to our house that we just take a look at, I think they did a better job, like turn everything to reality, like the.
Independent of comparing it, why should it get an award? You tell me, why do you like it?
Well, the material choose and also it's just simple, elegant, and the curve and it's the location of it is like a getaway to this part of the shopping center, and it's kind of like the curve thing. It just showing the welcome and doesn't come. They did a good job because although they didn't touch the upper portion of this building, but they didn't compete with what happened with the upper portion. So I think that there is a good balance. I think it's hard for them to just keep it simple while there are something lots of things going on the upper portion. So I think it's really good, and the materials is really nice, clean.
You know, thinking back to this, I think we had a good bit to do with the rounded glass corner. You did, huh? Peter probably did
I
that.
feel guilty of
You
this one.
know, yeah, no. It's really a lot of what made this, what you're saying about it is what we did for it, you know,
It's
in our
just,
comments.
all that is true. There's just not enough here in my mind. It's just really, if you put your hand blocking the upstairs, it's just a storefront, change the windows, recess the entry that we're giving an award to. And to me, that as well done as it is, that's not enough.
I agree with that.
But
All right.
you can
So
keep it on
let's-
for now if you'd like. I'll give you that.
No, I don't think
That'd be
so.
great, yeah.
Okay, let's leave it on the list for
She wants
now.
it, we
We're
keep
gonna,
it for
two of us want to leave it on the list for now. Compete with that our house eyesore.
Eyesore. Oh, my gosh.
All right. Next up, Sushi Roku. Sushi Roku next up.
Now,
All right.
Pete, you have your battery or whatever?
I do, yes. And I can leave the presentation. Did you send a photo?
Can you just add that one in?
Yes.
Yeah. So this, you know, let's see both together because the other one is really important.
I can already tell you. I can already tell you this is one of the ones that I'm also going to be leaning hard for. I really am very fond of this building. When you see it in person.
What happened?
The wood slats and everything are just stunning. The landscape feature in the front, stunning.
I don't believe the email went through, so.
Uh-oh. Well, it's okay. We can work with the photos that we've got, right? I think that there's
I'll tell you what, I can pass this around.
perfect.
No, you
Well,
have to do it. For
okay.
the pub- you
Can
have
we
to
hold
go-
it up?
No, you can't. You have to. go
can we
to the-
hold it up while he's talking? So start talking, David, and get the thing to zoom in on you and just hold it up towards the camera.
Okay, yep, here. Can you see this then on the screen? Here. It's on my screen. So is it on the general screen enough?
Enough.
Cameraman in the booth. Can you,
They cannot.
Bear with
remain-
me. I'll try to find some additional
There we go.
photo.
Keep talking, keep talking.
yeah, that's good. That's good. It's part of the record there.
Beautiful. Okay, moving on. Is there an actual cameraman? Awesome. I never knew there was a person. I thought it was all automated. Thank you. Thank you.
Good job there. Thank you. First time that we
Okay, so
ever
you want
done
to keep
this.
this on the list? Is that the gist of this?
Yes, I'm very fond of this building.
Yeah.
And if you've eaten there in person, if you've been there in person, that landscape feature in the front, the overhang, the woodwork on the front, it's just, they really made this building something super special.
Yeah, the scale, actually, you know, we
Yeah.
had a lot of discussion and I disagreed with my neighbor here on the scale of the name of, even the name of this restaurant is so beautiful.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, I remember that and you're right. This building is good.
So I think that unanimously we want to keep this on the list.
Okay. Next up,
And I am adding that Porter project that was mentioned, the other residential in the slide deck, so bear with me.
Sorry, the Wilton project
The
or?
Wilton project, right?
Wilton Courts, yes.
Yeah.
What about
there-
Wilkes Bashford? Isn't that one of the shopping center projects?
I think he's just trying to add
Yes,
that in.
Wilkes
Looking at the-
Bashford. I had another picture that I also sent you, Stephen. Stephen, I had another, did you get?
Pardon?
Wilkes Bashford, I had another picture of that one as well that I sent you. You didn't get it?
The photo that's in the slide deck is the one I received.
I just sent it to
Could
you this.
Pull that one up, please, the photo on your slide deck. of Wilkes
Okay.
Bashford.
Well, we're experiencing some technical
Oh, I see.
difficulties, so.
I'm gonna pull up the slide deck because
Well, I think the Wilkes
computer
Bashford
turned
building
off.
is probably the best
Okay, where does
large
it
new
say?
building at the shopping center. At least it's very striking when I've gone by there. I'm not sure the photo captures it,
Well,
Yeah.
that's why I wanted another picture.
but again, from just working from memory, I certainly think that should stay on our list.
It's so funny. And to me, I looked at the photo, I went, meh.
The photo doesn't capture
Yeah.
it, but
Well, I'm a good photographer, so.
There
well,
you go,
I don't know who took the photo. It didn't.
So I have other pictures, because you know something, that, as a photographer, that is about the hardest building to take a picture of. Because it is so long, and so many different pieces to it. I couldn't really get it in any one image that really worked.
We reviewed the Restoration Hardware Building and the Wilkes Bashford Building more or less simultaneously. Wilkes Bashford was delayed a year or so because of I don't know, some parking issues with the big utility line, but it's fair in my mind to think of both of those as large new buildings at the shopping center.
Here's another picture of the Wilkes Bashford folks, and I'll try to put that in. Let's see if we can get it. This is the street side entry, which really shows you, you get a sense of how long this is.
Make sure they capture that on the camera, I guess.
Yeah, and
Yes,
start
can you-
talking and hold it still.
Yes. Hi, cameraman, can you get in close to this one?
Lift it up, she said. Lift it up above the screen. There you go.
Up.
Oh, camera lady. Thank you.
Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Seriously, hats off to the camera person. That is awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Never done that before. So
Thank you for bearing with us while we're trying to get the slide deck back up.
okay,
Listen, we're having a
So are we leaving
spicy
that-
morning. It's
are we
good.
leaving that one on- Is that one staying on our list for now, the Wilkes Bashford or?
Sounds like a yes so far. So we're, just whittling this down to 20-something projects. We'll get there in the end.
too many. I
Well,
think
you know
it's
what?
really only 10 so far. Something
It's,
more closer to 10.
it does speak to the concept that we have some really good architecture in Palo Alto. So for what that's worth, I think it's hats off to all of the architects
I
that
see
worked on these
10 so far.
projects, and the fact that we're having a hard time whittling this list down is a good thing. Maybe not for Stephen, but for the city, yes.
Claire, could you think there's a way to go back and find Wilton Court? Or I can try to do that on my,
So I did send in,
Yeah,
David, I
I
did send
can
in
find-
photos of it. But I think that they were just having struggles getting the photos into
Oh,
the
you-
slide. They were trying to do that.
you
Yeah,
did?
I did
Okay.
take photos of it, but they were trying to do that and then there was technical difficulties. So we're just
Are we
bearing with it
sure
right now.
Wilton Court didn't get an award last time?
yes,
No,
I'm
we're not.
positive.
Well, I'm not, but.
No.
Oh, no, I guarantee you it did not get an award at the last ceremony. No, it did not.
That building that won an award already someplace.
Maybe an AARA. Yeah, what's up? Yeah.
Excellent. And Claire, if you don't mind jumping back up to
Oh,
Wilkes
there we go.
Bashford when you have a minute, but I'm going to let you finish what you're doing.
There we
I'm
go.
gonna let you finish, but,
So thank you, Claire. Did you find that one?
and that's 3705 El Camino.
It'd be good if you could pull out to one street scene as well, a little further away.
Okay, so do you want me to do that or do you want me to go back to the Wilkes-Barre right
This
now?
is fine for now. I would
Okay.
like it, if we can stay sort of in order, I think this is going to be helpful. This is awesome that you put this in. Thank you for doing that right this second. And then let's go back to Wilkes-Bashford because that's where we were sort of still having our discussion. So there we go. You gonna fight for this one, David? Want to keep it on the list?
To me, this building doesn't quite make it because it's too damn long.
The proportions are off, okay.
It's almost as if you had three buildings there instead of just one. It doesn't really solidify as a design to me. You have to walk all the way around it several times to see, oh, this little view is delightful, but it's not the whole building. Not that we have to make something into a single image building, but nonetheless, it just, to me, it doesn't fit the site that well.
Fair enough.
I'm
Fair
okay
enough.
removing it, yeah.
I'm okay removing it as well. Look at us. We're doing a good job here, Stephen.
Hey, I think we're down to 10, so.
Well, this is the interesting Peloton. Remember this whole discussion? Because there was a difference with Jody about this one. We were arguing that the area around the door, the lighting, these things that I remember, right? The lighting is just a definition of a door. It is not a sign. Peloton is the sign here. When we were talking about it as a sign program, Peloton looks up a little, maybe for me in proportion, it looks a little too high up on the building anyhow. But the neon, in any case, it's not really all that interesting.
I would argue that the lighting is sort of the trend right now because everyone's having way too much fun with the strip LED lighting. And I would also argue that the black paneling has not really held up well, as you can see
Not
from this
well at
photo.
all.
So this is one of those where I would find the material to be of lesser quality than I would be
Exactly. I just
intended to,
put it
so.
in.
Yeah, no, it's good, but I
honestly.
think we're good to remove it.
Mhm,
Thanks, David.
mhm.
This one's getting rolled, so we can skip it.
So I hope that, Stephen, maybe you keep in mind that and look into the aspect of that Peloton one relative to a sign panel, because I think we were, as a board, pretty strong about the idea that something you do for a doorway or around a doorway ought not count as a part of a sign.
I mean, I would agree with that. I'm not sure exactly what aspect of that would have been counted as a sign, but I don't know all the details of,
Well, of course,
maybe there was something that changed. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think it
Okay.
was just that the graphic of the sign of around the doorway was decided that it would be a sign, too much sign, Okay,
Thank you.
it
Thank you for
isn't,
that.
it isn't like a major issue, but it's something to kind of consider.
Thank you for that. And then we are now on 3877 El Camino.
I don't know. I'm quite fond of this one. In person, it's really quite lovely. I think the proportions are interesting. I like the way that it sort of goes back and forth. It almost feels like it's curving around. I think the upper level is really interesting with how it's got that open air terrace, and you can see the units at the top sort of have this banding that goes around it to define the building that's not really there. That building is quite set back, but this strip around the top portion makes it feel that the building is it's completing the invisible corner of a cube to some extent. So there's something I'm very fond of about this building, but I will also defer to my colleagues on this one.
Well, because we're talking about various commercial, commercial building. The Porter building is head and shoulders above this one.
I would agree with that.
It's okay, but it isn't really sophisticated in my mind.
I'm gonna look at Yingxi because the Porter project was hers.
Yeah, well, I
do you
think
think?
she loves that one.
Yeah.
I know it's a great building. It's
Yeah.
actually a
Yeah, I
great
think-
building.
Yeah, over plan and the details are really good. And
Mhm.
for this one, it's under use. So there is like the upper level is residential and the other down below is retail, or what's this building for? You know?
It's a commercial building.
It's a
an
mix.
office building.
It's
Oh, it's
got
mixed.
various mixed use. So I think there is a small retail component, there's an office component, and then this one's actually interesting because it was an L shape, so it actually wraps around. And the residential is included at the rear, and so that actually faces out to the side street too.
I'm just not I pass this building all the time on my way to my house.
Starbucks drive-through is right next door. I see it constantly. But yeah, if no one else is gonna, nope, I'm seeing nope, nope, nope. Okay, let's let this one go.
All right. The mortuary building at 695 Arastadero Road.
Aren't there more pictures of this? I would just find one picture.
Unfortunately, no. I had some photos taken. We drove all the way around it, and for some reason, I accidentally deleted the photos. So Stephen was kind enough to provide this one. I really want to love this project and have to admit that there's something that it just feels a little bit plunked in there. And when you see the main structure of the Alta Mesa Cemetery, the main one is a very Italian, very sort of traditional, very interesting, beautiful building, and it's been there forever. And this one, I really wanted to like it. And when you go around the back, there's a lot of glazing, and you could see into the chamber, which is really stunning. And maybe I went on a cloudy day, so it wasn't as striking. The hard part is that until you go inside, you can't really experience it, and it's not really open for tourists. So it needs a little more respect than that. So this is one of those that I really wanted to like it, and it fell just a little bit short for me.
Well, this particular view, I think,
It's
is
not helping.
not helping at
No.
all. It had some, as I recall, as a building, it had some really interesting kind of side courts.
Yeah, if you drive around the back, it's this really sort of beautiful floor to ceiling glass. You can see into the chapel area. I'm not sure if it's called a chapel, but that area. And it's quite lovely inside, but you can't just go in. So that was a little tough. And I think my biggest issue is that the context feels a little out of place compared to the existing very Mediterranean style, but maybe I need to let that go and evaluate this on just what it is by itself.
Well, it's on a very important kind of street turnaround for the whole cemetery there.
Yeah, yeah, you
You know?
drive in, you go right around the front, you go right, or
Yeah.
you can go around the back of it.
So it's a very interesting site in that it's seen from every side for sure.
Yes,
You know?
yes, absolutely. And it
Uh,
did face that glass out towards the field, which was quite lovely. And so when you're on that backside, and if you're in a place of mourning, the view that you have is really quite serene and elegant. So I give them a lot of credit for that.
But I don't think the building as it is that attractive either. It's just that white structure is just a heavy frame for this. There's nothing really kind of delicate about this. It's a little
I
too-
think that's what's missing is I was wanted a little more of a push, and I just didn't quite get there.
Mhm.
And that white portion is ephes, and then there is stone cladding on that
Mhm.
larger bottom band of the building, if you will.
Yeah.
Is it a pretty flat building, or there is some kind of roof line change or
Flat.
tower element, or?
It was very flat from what I
Very
could see.
flat.
Drove all the way around it. It was just very flat. The one view I wish we did have is that glazing in the back. And again, we don't often get funeral related
Yes, right.
architecture. So there's a
So-
part of me that's like categorically, I'm like,
want to-
I mean, this is for that type of architecture, this is quite exciting.
Maybe,
So
yeah.
it's very modern, but it's a little bit brutalist, and it's a little bit less elegant or less finely detailed than I would have appreciated.
I was looking somehow for this in the end to develop those kind of outside, inside areas a little.
Mhm.
And I haven't been back to look at it again, but they did have some sort of interesting parts of that around the perimeter.
You can sort of see in this area here, there's
Mhm.
this courtyard.
Yeah, that little
um,
courtyard back there.
Right. The hard part is that like you literally can drive all the way around and it's all paving. The whole surround is paving.
Yeah.
So there is that little courtyard area back there, but it's really just sort of this island in the middle of the surrounding asphalt.
not strong enough as a piece of architecture for us to give him an award.
I like want somebody to give me an excuse to like it. Like, I really want to vote for this one, but I just
Mhm.
don't have enough to sink my teeth into.
So how do we move on here? I have a very preferred list in my mind.
Well, I think we have one more to look at. So this one, I think we're gonna let go unless anyone has a strong hold on to the cemetery.
I do.
You want to hold on to the cemetery one?
Oh, no, no,
Okay.
no, not at
Then,
all.
we'll let go of that one.
Yeah.
And then the last one will be the Wilton
Wilton Court.
Oh,
which is formerly known as 3705 El Camino.
All right.
Yeah, Wilton Court should stay on our list.
Can we pull up that very last slide? Claire,
Bear
you're still
with us
arm
while we're
wrestling with your
doing that.
computer.
Claire, you're trying to send that to us?
Yeah, but every time I do it, it somehow goes blank. I'm not sure why, but I'm just gonna leave it on. Instead of doing the show, I'm not sure why it goes black every time.
Picture somewhere in my camera.
Can you see the photo on the screen?
Yes.
yes.
You know, to talk about this building. Talk about this building, because I looked at it many times. We had a lot to do, and this was probably before you guys. Peter and I would remember this one, and only ones to remember it, but we had a lot to do with the entry around the corner. We moved the door, we had a long, long discussion about the relationship of this project to the housing that's next door, because it had to be a 50-foot separation, I think, somehow, between the existing housing building and the height issue of the backside of the building. They did a very good job of making a relationship by putting the open area on a deck in the back. I think it's an excellently designed building. I like the window surrounds an awful lot. They weren't the standard William window surround. They proportioned everything on the street side, which we can't see here, but they did a nice piece at the corner. And so it turns the corner nicely, and the entry at the corner works really well. In this particular building, part of our housing requirements was corner entry issues, and this one addresses corner entries a lot. The shape of the building is clear as to the program of the building as well. The whole outside kind of describes exactly what happens inside. Since I spent almost all of my architectural life on buildings for this exact kind of client, being the people who occupy it, I think it's really, really well done. The choice of materials is excellent. The scale of it isn't a building that's filled with novel architectural thoughts, but it's just well done for its type of building. Extremely well done. So I find, if I may say, there's a relationship here between this one and the other housing building on Hamilton, which one, if we're going to choose, because we have a choice, is a really hard choice. And we have to make that today.
I agree with you, Board Member Hirsch.
So we have already reviewed. Yeah.
Do you have a strong opinion on this one?
No, I think, we definitely should keep this one on the list. I like it.
It's funny, my one complaint about it is that the peach is so peach, but that's a personal opinion, so. I will defer to my board members on this one.
Yeah, the one thing I personally thought it didn't really work out as well as I had hoped was that the material broke down at one point there. Some of the precast elements that were on the front of the building just didn't look as sparkly as I thought they were going to from all the renderings, of the building beforehand. But everything else seemed to work.
Now, this is a side discussion, but I'm going to just put this on the record. The proportion and the height of this building is spot on. And what we're doing with Palo Alto, with making buildings 8 stories tall, is going to be very interesting compared to something like this, where I think this building, the height of it is so well done in relationship to the street. But that's a different discussion for a different day. So at this point, Stephen, Claire, I don't know who's in charge of the slides anymore. How would you like to proceed? Should we go back through the ones that were kept on the list and we vote and just get numbers, and the ones that have unanimous votes are sort of automatic winners, and then the ones that are maybe on the fence, we can review again? The other item of note is that Board Member Adcock's not here, so I don't know how we want to factor in her opinion on this as well.
So based on the discussion here, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 projects from that 28 projects that would be on, say, the shorter list. It is the will of the board, should, in the absence of board member ad hoc, to decide on these projects. There, in the correspondence I received from board member ad hoc, it expressed their, out of their short list that they provided, that the Mercedes-Benz project was their project of choice. So
That was her choice. I mean, that's her choice, right?
yes, so that was what I received in correspondence from board member ad hoc. So
Just really quickly, I have a slight discrepancy. I have 10 that I saw that we had kept. So do we want to go down the list really quick?
sure, we can go down the list.
3705 El Camino on the blue. I have 3215 Porter in the orange. I have 620 Emerson. I have 555 Middlefield. 588 Webster. The Restoration Hardware. The Aloe Yoga Facade. Sushi Roku. Our House. And Mercedes-Benz. Am I counting that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yes.
6, 7, 8.
I was omitting Restoration Hardware. So.
Oh, I think we did have
My
someone
apologies.
fighting for that one still, so okay,
So 10 for the record.
10, yep.
I'm
know,
just trying to.
Seems to me what we could try to do is to pick out the ones that are absolutely musts for the list.
Is there a way we could pull all those photos on the same screen?
Yeah,
and
that
then we
would be
can-
good.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Let's
be
see, I'm
hard.
trying to at least narrow down I'm doing a new presentation that is
Perfect.
just those.
Just gonna
So
say, copy that slide deck and then start deleting the ones that we've already removed.
And then
That's possible.
maybe we can also talk about the category while reviewing
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
Great suggestion. We take a 5-minute break, and then that way we're not sitting here all staring at Claire, and we can
Yeah.
refresh our coffee. All
Thank you.
right, we'll be back in 5 minutes. tad faster. How are we looking over there? Excellent. All right, we're going to resume. Thank you. Yes, eventually. We're chit-chatting over
So I
here.
was over here because, but we didn't talk about it because I'm pushing for Argos.
Oh, okay.
You're not,
We're
can't
gonna,
get you.
we're trying to be swayed. We're getting swayed over here. He's trying to schmooze us into voting for his pet projects. All right, we're getting restarted. Thank you guys for your patience. I think we've got all the technical difficulties sorted out at this time, so apologies for the extended delay there, but we did need to work out what's going on with the slideshow. So once you guys are ready to go, I'll let you take it away.
All right. So we also took the liberty to kind of group these up in some like projects.
Gold star for both of you. That's amazing.
So on the screen, we have some of the residential projects. So this is 3705 El Camino Real, as well as 588 Webster. And just for context, there were 10 projects, and the last majority was that 5 awards would be decided. So.
And I did add just another visual from the other angle because it shows the landscaping and stuff from
Yeah,
Google
no,
Maps.
that's good. Those are good. Excellent.
That's excellent work in 10 minutes. I'm gonna just kick us off here. I am very fond of 588 Webster. I think it's elegant, it's clean, it shows the three, the base, middle, top. I think the use of what looks like the trellis in that center portion of the roof to oversee the balcony is really elegant. So I'm a huge fan of that one. I have to admit, I know everyone's very fond of the 3705. It's not my favorite. So that's my 2 cents on this one.
So my opinion is that they're different projects, different materials, both housing, different concepts. And they both are good, really, really good projects. And if I were to, my preference is to pick 2 residential projects. I think they actually would kind of show each other off. They're prototypical in some way. Maybe that's the wrong word, but one is pushes towards modernism. The other one is more ordinary, but it does it really, really well, and it suits its use excellently. So I like both of these projects very much.
I like that sentiment. Really, I could get on board with that they make each other better.
I strongly support both of these projects winning awards. They're excellent works of architecture.
Yeah, it's hard to choose from both of them. I think both of them are really good.
All right, maybe we come back to this, or we'll move along to the retail projects.
Perfect. Thank you.
So there were 4 of these. So I have the Aloe Yoga, Sushi Roku. Actually, we have, I think, 5. So Restoration Hardware, Our House, and 620 Emerson.
I want to make a comment right away, just because I don't think they all belong together here, even if they're called commercial in some way. The one in the hotel is, yeah, that's really, a lot of that is landscape that we're missing here. It's impact on the street is something that we focused on really, really a lot in our review, if Peter remembers. And I think we improved it some. The fencing was improved a little bit, the patterning of it a little, but the design in the beginning was excellent to begin with, And then when they finished it, because there's always a transition between what we approve and what they do in the end. And their end transition in landscaping is spectacular. It is just beyond belief how good it is. And this doesn't show it, certainly one picture, but when they actually make the full presentation on this, it'll show itself off. I think it's excellent. What definitely is different in that it addresses the street, things Peter said about it, and it adds substantially to the whole building idea there. It opens itself up to the public in a really nice way, which the restaurant does as well on the other side. But it's excellent. Choice of materials is really good. The landscaping is, the level changes within are very nice. The way they transition to the street from these eating areas. The private dining area in the back is also excellently done. So it opens to the garden, or I think it can close itself off if it wants to. It's a winner. Peter, do you?
Well, I can support both the Nobu project and the Roku Sushi project. I think are the two of these five that I think are the strongest candidates.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, same here. I think those two are the top twos.
Yep, I agree with that.
So why don't we just get rid of the other three and then we can ultimately decide between them.
I think we're all very fond of this Mercedes-Benz project, if I can speak for everybody. So maybe we just go ahead and put that on the list.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think the Middlefield Road we can probably lose in comparison to all the others. It just doesn't hold up.
I had a thought about this. If this is one, because I really liked your reasoning for why you hung on to it, right? So at first blush, maybe it's not the most architecturally stunning, but you're speaking to its reuse of an existing facade, I think is important. So my thinking on this is maybe this one is the honorable mention of the year. And the reasoning being that the intent behind it was very important and something that we do want to encourage in the city. So maybe it's not that the final architectural element was the most striking, but the process really mattered on this one. So with your input on that, I think that maybe that's a potential to have that just be an honorable mention.
Okay, we can leave it on for now and see.
Okay.
Is there any more on this category?
You
This is
know,
the third one.
This is the last one.
I wanted to sort of suggest that in my mind, I know it doesn't fit in terms of usage, but I really, really like the way that piece of artwork on the bottom of the bridge worked out. So making a statement about Palo Alto, because I think that's what it does. It says that we have something special here. We have, the art requirement where we open up our senses to special things like artwork as part of our development of the built environment. And it's not just artwork, kind of isolated in a park, but it became it's sort of part of that bridge experience. And even if the bridge isn't so great, the artwork is. It's worth kind of giving it an award, I think.
Well, I kind of have different opinion on that one because for that one, if the ARB's job is to review the entire bridge as a project, it's hard for us to just make a decision based on just a very small portion of this entire project. Just like the entire building, if we say, oh, the entire building doesn't look good, but the canopy design is really nice, we cannot make our choice just based on that portion of that.
Okay.
It's hard to argue with that logic.
I have to agree with that. I really do. But David, to your point, I really do hear you. And what I would say is that maybe we put out a note to the art commission that this is something that is well worth taking a look at on their field, because they might overlook this as being, oh, it's part of a bridge, right? So they might overlook that. So there's a way that we can just send a nudge to the art commission if they do an award ceremony or something like that. Like, let's make sure that they hear the ARB's opinion that this is something that really should be looked at twice.
Sure, staff could help with that.
Thanks very much.
Well, this building is a winner. 100%.
I agree.
Is this more than the Mercedes dealership?
Peter?
I'm weighing in my head whether I think this is a stronger work of architecture than the Mercedes dealership.
It's a different kind of building.
It's very different. And I would also argue that, if we're looking at it versus some of the housing elements, is it better than the housing? Right? So is it better than some of the commercial ones or some of the retail ones? So to me, I think this one is a fascinating mixture of architecture and also the use of it is really very striking to me. You could argue that the Mercedes-Benz dealership is a retail project and therefore it would be compared with Sushi Roku, right? To me, this is a little bit different.
Well, it's a very different use.
I'm not familiar with this building live, but as I'm looking at this photograph, it does lack the coherence that the Mercedes dealership has. The Mercedes uses a few materials, integrates the landscape wall more elegantly. This has, when you parse it out, a whole bunch of stuff going on one facade. And
Well, then that's my fault. I should take more pictures. Well, if you go there in person, I think it's really the entire design is really great, from the landscape, the indoor, outdoor experience. Yeah, it's really a lively
Is this stronger
building.
than the Mercedes dealer?
Well, I have yeah. So here is a suggestion. Maybe I'm not sure. Like, since lots of buildings we haven't been there in person recently, does it worth all the board members to have a site visit if some projects that we're not sure?
Definitely a very good comment, because I'm, you know, seeing this and knowing the building from when we approved it, there was an awful lot of discussion, but to be honest, we didn't focus so much on the front elevation. We focused entirely almost on the back elevation in the whole discussion. I mean, I have to say that the fact that it's just a very simple structure to begin with isn't what makes it. It's the detail. The details are really, really well done, especially the glass corners and the metal to metal corners, and all of the way the metal treatment and the glass treatment. They're excellent detailing. But the shape of the building is a kind of a commonplace.
Seeing we have a little bit of a trend here. We seem to have pairs of projects, right? Mercedes-Benz and this, the 2 housing projects and the 2 sushi projects. And if that's where we're falling out, we would end up with 6.
On that note, so my records here, so we have 2 for the restaurants, say Nobu and Sushi Roku. We have the Mercedes-Benz and the project on the slide, and we have the 2 residential projects. So and potentially that 7th honorable mention for the 555 Middlefield Road. And just for context, in 2022, for the 2020 awards, 8 projects received awards. And prior to that, in 2015, it was 5. 2010, it was 10 awards. And prior to that, it was 5 in 1998. So,
Yeah. And I remember when we had the 8, I thought it was that I actually thought we had 5 awards and 2 honorable mentions last time. I thought it was 7. Is that wrong?
No, we only had 1 honorable mention.
I thought we had 2.
there was 2 honorable mentions.
Yeah.
So one was
Yeah.
the Children's Hospital
That's right.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
the multifamily residence at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
430 Forest Avenue.
Uh-huh.
So if we've whittled this down to 6, we can, as a board, decide that we don't need to cut one last one. We can just
Keep
camp out
'em.
6.
Keep 6.
How do we feel about that? Good? Good. All right, I think we have 6. And then my question would be to Peter specifically. Do you want to go with an honorable mention for the last one?
Yes. I
Great.
do.
Let's do
I want to speak on that one.
Please.
I don't think the justification is strong enough that you take a building that you remodel and add some pieces to it or whatever. The building itself, to me, is not attractive. You know, it's too repetitive all the way around. Too much whiteness to it to begin with. It's totally surrounded by parking. There's absolutely 0 landscaping. These are things that count against. I mean, if you could do some landscaping, but you couldn't because they had to maintain all that parking all around the perimeter. The front of it has a little bit to say how there's a gesture towards Middlefield, but everywhere else around that site is really pretty horrible in my mind. The entries they did some different stuff to the entries. The inside is all the same. There isn't really enough done to this building to make it worthy of an award, you know? We're really talking design excellence. I think that people would, on the outside, will also look at that and say, gee whiz, you know, they gave this an award. It's not worth it.
I
To my
think for-
mind, it's not worth it.
I think for that one, maybe before after photos might be helpful to see, like when you do something little, then you can see a big change. And also I think the importance of that one is it's not often we see people decided to reuse an office building. So it's not like the retail, like the shopping center. If it's just a facade change, we see it many times, but they say the office building and that side, on that side, if we can reuse the entire building and then refresh the elevations, I think that there's something there.
Yeah, it's not worth an award. I feel pretty strongly about it. We would diminish our expression of what we stand for if we include this building. I'm sort of surprised, Peter, that you.
No, you're making good points, David. I'm thinking hard about what you're saying because it is not architectural excellence is not what we're giving an award for, and yet that's what we're giving awards for.
Mhm.
So,
But it comes down to what your definition of architectural excellence is. Is
Mhm.
purposeful, intelligent, efficient reuse architectural excellence?
No, not enough. I mean, participated in a lot of projects like that where, you know, you do the best you can, but you don't in the end say, this is something I'm really, really proud of. I'm going to put it in my portfolio.
It's not portfolio work.
Yeah, it's not. But I think that
do you want to just make a public statement?
we make it public.
No. I was going to say to Peter, so I think that if you just reiterate your points to the public, we can make sure that they know the reason that this was under such consideration. And to the architects out there who are planning to build in Palo Alto, this is noted, right? The process is noted that this project was, oh, and we've got the before and after here, where the reuse is environmentally beneficial. It's faster, it's more efficient in a lot of different ways. And the concept that you can take something that's maybe a little worse for wear and turn it into something really beautiful, I think is well worth noting and well worth putting out there as a public statement to any potential architects or designers in the Palo Alto boundaries. Like, we do notice this, we do appreciate it. At the end of the day, I don't necessarily think it's going to make or break it one way or the other to put it on an honorable mention or not. But I think just making this statement, you know, here today, this is noticed. I mean, this is a very much appreciated process of how to get good architecture done in this city. And that before and after really does illuminate it a bit better though. But yeah.
It's good design work, David. I mean, he did some good things to make it much better.
I'm wondering, for example, you look at the front and the back and the side, and how come the windows don't really align properly? I remember us talking a lot about the little canopies that are there, you know, they're sort of on the top and one side. So I'm not even sure if that, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense because the sun moves around. So how does that thing really work, that little hood? Now, the same kind of hood is used on the housing building on El Camino. I think it's one-sided as well.
Well, you put it on the southern side to get
Yeah,
yourself some
you do.
protection,
You put
obviously.
it on the southern side. But here it is on every side. So I remember during the discussion that with Ozma, you know, was very involved and interested in the canopy around the windows, the overhang. And it bothered me personally that it was only one-sided as a concept. And the sun moves. So how does that make sense? Now, I'll agree, it's an improvement to the building. There's no doubt. But proportionally, kind of relative to what you showed, part of the.
Yeah, it's not capital A architectural excellence. It's just a number of moves that were much better than what was done before. And compared to most tenant improvement kind of projects we see, this one is exceptionally well done as a tenant improvement or a facelift. I mean, it takes some skill to do that. It's not that easy. But I guess the rest of the board should also chime in. I don't feel that strong about this. I think it's an opportunity more than anything else. I'd step back. The other 6 that we've picked, I support strongly. I think those are 6
Agree.
I
excellent
think there's
choices.
6
And
excellent.
that's just, I think we're done with that.
That's it.
That's it. So
That
whether
would
or
be
not
it.
this gets a
Yeah.
honorable mention or something is secondary.
Okay, well,
Second.
in our hearts, it's an honorable mention.
Well, not to complicate things, but just for a little context here. So I was just going to read off the 2023 Comprehensive Plan Program policy that states and puts this award program in place, if you will. So that is to promote awards and programs and other forms of public recognition for projects of architectural merit that contribute positively to the community. So with that policy, that's what, established this award program that we're here today. So
That it says that contribute positively to the community.
correct.
That's what we're talking about here.
I think an honorable mention in this case is not inappropriate. I think that because the statement is really along the lines of that this is well done for what it is, right? It's hard to compete a single family home with a mansion, right? Like it's one of those things where you're sort of comparing apples and oranges to some extent. This is a tenant improvement project. For what they had to work with, they did an excellent job. So there's a part of me that really wants to recognize that.
So what do the folks at Restoration Hardware think about us comparing the two and this comes out on top?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They'll be less than amused, but at the same time, yeah.
What were the words again? For the benefit of the community?
Contribute positively to the community.
Okay, I take back what I just said 30 seconds ago. I'm off the train. I think we stick with our 6 and call it a day.
Yes. Exactly. I think the 6 are more important to us than this one. And that reason. And I think that, I don't know, personally, if I had gotten to this point, I would say I'd like to do something a little bit more to this to make it work. It's a lot of blank white wall and, the material that's down below, I would love to see more rusticated stone relative to the stucco top to it, some more extent. I would like to carry some element out into the landscape in the front if that, to make it work as an entry point, to emphasize that. And I remember that it really was one side ramp up, the other side steps up, something like that,
Well, it was extremely budget driven what he was doing here.
Yeah, I know.
And so your points you make are well
Yeah.
taken, and I'm sure the architect would agree.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I mean, he tried his best.
Okay,
And he did quite a lot.
So the consensus would be at this point to leave it off. Hats off, but not on the list.
So we have 6 projects,
Yes.
and what I'm hearing is those 6 shall move forward.
That means they are officially the 2020 to 2024 Palo Alto Architectural Review Board winners.
All right. Well, with
Very anticlimactic.
snaps. With that, I do have some next steps that I wanted to pull up here for just some wayfinding, if you will, or tidying up. So I believe some of this conversation can be held offline on coordination just on staff's part, but just for the sake of the discussion today, we will be contacting the award winners and we will be securing, say, an event space. We can discuss where that should be, but last award cycle, the 2020 awards that were held in 2022 was in the City Hall lobby. So it was that flex meeting space, and those glass doors can open. And we can also utilize those bank of monitors as well.
How do you do that?
Pardon?
What bank of monitors?
So when you first enter the lobby, there are screens. So we
Huge
can-
screen, one huge screen.
Yes, it's a very large screen.
Mhm.
So we can utilize that.
How do we do that?
The staff will look into it and.
Last time staff coordinated with City Hall and they
Right.
handled it.
And to my
I'm
recollection,
all for that, if you can do it where the images that we will get can somehow be moving across that screen the way they have moving stuff.
right. And I believe that most of these architects probably would also like to prepare some materials as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
Some
No, we
display
should
boards
have
as
the
well.
boards.
Yeah, we had a
As-
static board requirement last time, 24 by 36. I actually do still have some of the documentation. So to staff, I do have the actual award certificates that we had from last time. Sorry, I'm going to let them talking. Go ahead. Just, so I do have the award certificates from last time, so I can send those over to you guys. And I do think I still have in like a Word doc format what we requested from them. So I'll just email that later today. And if it's useful, great. And if it's not, it's not. But yeah, the one item I did see, the prepare award certificates, we do have the template from last time.
Perfect. That's great to know.
So-
And what we were just discussing was about some of these award categories. So though we decided on the 6, I don't believe that we were firmly set on exactly, say, the categories. So there's the 2 residential projects, I think, that lend themselves pretty clearly. There is the 2 restaurants, Nobu as well as Sushi Roku, whether that's retail or restaurant. And as well as the commercial projects. So I just wanted to confirm that those categories were acceptable.
Yeah,
I recommend that you don't categorize.
no, don't categorize,
Just leave it as 6 works of.
because we're going to get
architecture that
6
are most
boards,
excellent.
6 separate boards.
I don't think you need to categorize them, even though we've obviously done
Okay.
exactly that, but just put them out there as these works stand on their own.
6 awards it is. So,
But Stephen, I think it's very important to try this time to get the idea of this each one floating across with different images, coming up each time, moving across the board, which is such a dynamic thing in that space. To use that as is a terrific thing. It's something that would be quite different than we've ever done before here. So I think it kind of recognizes the fact that graphics are changing that way, that presentations are not just static boards. Now, just to make a comment, last year I took all the boards and moved them around to the libraries, which I'd like to do again this year, if I'm still a board member. But maybe I could pass that on to somebody else to take over if I'm not. But so the boards are important that way because they reach out to the community. But the piece that's in the,
To do a vote.
if somebody can do so you really have to look into that, because then we need to get every piece of the graphics that come from these applicant people, separate so that they could work that way.
thank you, and staff will look into that.
So at this point, I also think we could harass Usma because she coordinated all the food last time and she did this exceptional job. So let's see if we can call her out of retirement just for fun. And if not, that's okay. But at this time, I think what we need to do is vote formally that these are our final 6 winners. So on that note, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the following 6 projects as the 2020 to 2024 Palo Alto ARB award winners. The Mercedes-Benz dealership, 3215 Porter, 3705 El Camino, 588 Webster, the Nobu Restaurant, and Sushi Roku. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And then can we get a vote, please?
Board Member Balte,
Yes.
Board Member Hirsch,
Yes,
Vice Chair Chen,
Yes.
Chair Rosenberg,
Yes.
motion carries 4-0.
Excellent work, everybody. And seriously, thank you to Stephen and Claire. You guys rocked it out today trying to get those items coordinated quickly and while we were actively in the meeting. So thank you very much for that.
So do we still have one more meeting regarding this ARB, or we can set a date for the ceremony now, or the staff
That's a
will
good
work on the
Staff's gonna work on
timeline?
date and timeline.
Yes, so that was another one of those items. So setting a award ceremony date. We can coordinate with, I think, some of these efforts offline of securing the space and figuring out how to engage those monitors. That should give us an idea, and staff will be following up on what would be a
Stephen, I have one comment more to make for you is this is the prettiest page that I've ever seen in the book. The color choices are excellent. I would love it if you could take away the requirement that we put these floating elements that always cover over the text somehow, and that we can't read some little piece of the text. Is it possible to move everything inside of those lines? You know, it's a graphic
I
issue.
believe you're referring to the page number that is
Yep.
on the packet. So to my knowledge, that is
Fixed, huh? Fixed in forever.
it's on for wayfinding of the document. We can look into seeing whether that can be repositioned on the page, but
Your lawyer is saying it's not.
Oh, it's not me. We'd have to talk to the clerk's office about that.
All
Okay,
right, so on that note, the date to be set, if it does need to come back as a discussion, maybe we can tie it into something of like the announcements at the end of another meeting. Most of it can be handled offline though. Okay,
Yeah, I suggest that administrative stuff like that is not really proper to bring to the full board in a public
Agreed.
hearing.
agreed.
The chair, the vice chair, and staff should just do it.
Right, and when the date meeting is set, we just have it in one of the announcements at the end of the meeting once we have it set. So if there is any update on it, it just comes in the announcements at the end of whatever the ARB meeting is. Okay, great. So with that, we're going to move on to approval of draft Architectural Review Board meeting minutes for January 16th, 2025. Do we have any comments or corrections?
I didn't mark out the page, but the only thing is that I want to comment that I was not the only one to talk about the color of the material on the outside. That Xing Chi brought this up first, and I just said I agree with her comment, wherever that is. Stephen, maybe you remember.
yes, I'm trying to find that in the packet page. Perhaps if we use those items on the top of the page that we just discussed about, we can find
Well,
where that's located.
Here they work out very well, you know, they're floating up there. And the bottom isn't so bad either I don't care so much about that information.
But for the record, we can note that.
Yeah,
if
please, just that's all. Yeah,
All right, thank you.
in response to Xing Chi's comment.
Okay, on that note.
Yep, otherwise fine.
With that item, I move that we approve these minutes. Thank you. And can we get a vote, please?
Board Member Bolte,
Yes.
Board Member Hirsch,
Yes,
Vice Chair Chen,
Yes.
Chair Rosenberg,
Yes.
motion carries 4-0.
Okay, excellent. Board member questions, comments, and or announcements? Okay,
no, I have one sort of comment,
sneaking it in there.
final comment
Let's
of
go.
the day. I never knew I would talk so much. You know, there's a big project that's coming down the pike here. 11-acre site on Gang Road, bunch of townhomes only. I want to point out that Xing Chi and I have made comments in the past about the mixing of different prototypes for housing when it's above 1 acre. That is not happening on that project. Is there any way that we can insert this comment into the process?
So want to really discuss specific projects, but the comments noted, and the planner for that project's in the room. So, but I will also note that it is a builder's remedy application that doesn't necessarily propose to meet all of the requirements of our code. And so just be aware of that. That project will come before the board. There is a site and design application. So it will be coming before the board. It will be coming before the planning commission, and ultimately council will make the decision on that project.
Has council weighed in on it yet?
No, they're not required to yet. They have not been asked to yet. We don't come before council before coming to the planning commission and the architecture review board for recommendations. So
It's worth noting that it's unfortunate we haven't completed our discussion of townhomes, David. This is what you're asking for, is that we get these regulations in place, and it's going on and on and on. And I was very disappointed today that
You're beating up on me.
Yeah, we should be, David. We should have had this today. Should have been today. That's what we scheduled months ago to do this. So, yes, that's why we don't have the regulations to help with the builder's remedies projects, which we
It's
need.
coming together. I mean, the text of it, Xingqi worked on responding to the request for it to be submitted today. As I said a little earlier, I'm doing a revision of that, and we're going to coordinate and get it ready for the next meeting. So
Good.
And for what it's worth, I don't know how much the townhomes conversation would have over a builder's remedy project. But again, that being said, it's not a conversation for today because we are not discussing that project today. So
I brought it up because I
Yeah,
think
no,
it
appreciate it.
ought to be in our minds.
And as long as staff is aware of the concerns, then I think we just have to cross that bridge when we get presented with that project.
Okay, but
So-
but I have to say that it's also very informative for us to get a readout on projects early on like that, the way in which Claire did it. So
Yeah.
thank you, Claire.
Great. Thank you, David.
And I would direct your attention to the packet. It is listed as a pending project in the director's report.
What's the address?
2100 through 2400 Gang Road.
Got it. Thank you very much. Any other comments, announcements?
So staff have an announcement on the senior housing along San Antonio Road. Is it? Or
Not today. Staff does have one announcement. There is 3 positions available on this board, and the applications are due to the clerk's office by February 26th. So if there's an interest, please
I
apply.
believe that we have one application in that's sitting here at the dais right now, and the other one is not allowed to. So that's going to be a sad day for the ARB. So, all right. And when are those applications due again?
February 26th.
February 26th. Okay. Thanks very much. And to the public, anyone who's applying, just
Where-
make sure you get in your application by February 26th.
When is the board going to hear the applicants' presentations? Or do you have any idea?
I believe that would be going before council, the interviews that you're
Yes,
referencing.
yes.
I don't believe that the clerk's office has a date set. I think once they review all the submitted applications, that those details will follow.
Mhm. Thanks. If that comes down the pike, could you notify at least Xingqi and myself?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the map here. That whole Gang Road project is in the floodplain. And there's been a lot of comments within this town about the wisdom of building so intensely in that area. Is there any efforts by the staff? or
We
city
really
or-
can't get into the
Yeah.
details of that specific project. at this
I'm
point
going to
in
jump in
time.
here and also say, I think that until we review the project, we can't review the project. So
I'm going to comment. It's just plain irresponsible of us not to be making sure council's fully aware of what's about to happen there.
but it's going to come to the ARB first, correct? So the method is that it comes to us, we review, and at that point, we can bring up any concerns that we have. And if the designer or the applicant or the architect makes a decision to do something that is sort of against the rules, they run the risk of putting in the time, effort, work, and money and having their project rejected. That's sort of the point of the process. So what I would caution against is speaking out of turn on it. We haven't been presented the project. We really can't speak to it. Your point is duly noted. And at the time that it's presented, we can address it then. And until then, it's up to the applicant to do their own due diligence on what they think is a responsible thing to put forward. And if we disagree, then we disagree. So any other comments from staff? No, good. All right, with that. Everybody's good. All right. Thank you guys very much. We are officially adjourned.